Macedonia. The shining gate to Mount Olympus.
Macedonia. What's in the name? A Hellenic land for thousands of years, synonymous with Alexander the Great. His legend is worldwide. His story has been retold for over than 2,000 years. They say when a person tells his story many times, throughout the years he becomes his story. This is what happened with Macedonia, the land beneath the shadow of Mount Olympus. This great land has an incredible story to tell. The highest mountain, the most beautiful mountain of Hellas.
Our Olympus. The ancient Hellenes considered it the first land to arise with the creation of the world. This was the divine mountain of the earliest Hellenic people. This mountain was the living temple of their ancient gods, the gods of Olympus. Within the view of this mountain, we stand on the lands that were the inspiration of Isiud, author of the Hellenic Bible, the Theogony, the birth of the gods. It was written 2,700 years ago. The lands of the Theogony are those we see around us. Here we can visit the battleground between the early race of giants with the Olympian gods. This precise site in the Halkidiki Peninsula is where Isiud tells us that the war took place. In these ancient fields called Phlegra, the giants were so heavily wounded in the battle that the nearby mountain was named Amos, blood in Greek. Yes, the same word we use within hematology, the medical study of blood. The heritage of the giants' blood from that great war remains in our world today, within our modern vocabulary. Here, we stand at the birthplace of the 9 holy muses. Here, in the Macedonian mountains of Pieria, the muses were the protectors and inspiration of arts and letters. We still worship the muses today. Whenever we visit a museum, we enjoy the ballet inspired by the muse Terpsihore, or when we laugh at some comedy on our TV sets, and thus give homage to the muse of comedy, Thaia. The muses were worshipped here, and they in turn worshipped the struggles towards the establishment of harmony and of rightness in the world won by the Olympian gods. What was the world like? The world battled for by the Titans, the giants, and the ultimate winners, the Olympian gods. Following the path given by Isiud, we can visit the actual places where our ancestors witnessed events that are preserved as the oldest of human memories of the Macedonian regions. And in the forefront, Macedonia, the shining gate of Mount Olympus.
Here we can sit lucky spectators of the lands that were witnessed by the earliest of the Hellenes, lands with history overlapping with legends that date from mankind's antiquity. For now, as well as in those long ago times, the natural setting is beautiful, an absolute scenery of awe. We wander at the rocks, feeling their irresistible strength. We wander at the forest and plants for their gentle protection of these lands, interwoven with the rocks and the earth itself. The waving of these natural forces exemplify the rivalry between humans and ancient gods.
I'm coming for you, Zeus!
A contest that reaches acceptance within the environment of Mount Olympus. The Olympian environment is little changed from the world of Hesiod. Olympus, it's more than just a physical entity.
Έχει ψυχή και μπορείς να κουβεντιάσεις μαζί του. Για αυτούς που θέλουν, που έχουν μάτια ανοιχτά, που έχουν αυτιά, μπορούν να ακούσουν και να κουβεντιάσουν με πολλά πράγματα.
We are at the shelter Prionia. It's an amazing place. It's like a paradise on earth. You're surrounded by the mountain Olympus. And the most important, it's very easy accessible by car, as you can see. Throughout Hellenic history, from antiquity to today, this mountain represents an evolving spectrum of ideas, of worship, thoughts, philosophy and visions of the intersection of reality and myth. Hellenes, living at its base, have evolved to match the inspiration of this mountain.
Αυτόχθονες κάτοικοι εδώ, και κυρίως ξέρετε γύρω από τον Όλυμπου ήταν επίεδες, θρακικός λαός, οι οποίοι εκδιώχθηκαν από τον Φίλιππο, στους οποίους κυρίως οφείλουμε την ελληνική μυθολογία και το Δωδεκάθεο. Αυτοί ήταν, να το πούμε, οι αυτόχθονες κάτοικοι εδώ, που βλέπαν όλα αυτά τα φαινόμενα και τα ερμήνευσαν μυθολογικά, όπως όλοι οι λαοί του κόσμου. Αλλά η ελληνική μυθολογία ξέφυγε πραγματικά και έδωσε ερμηνεία στα φυσικά φαινόμενα, που σήμερα την θεωρούμε σαν παραμύθι, αλλά δεν είναι παραμύθι. Άλλο μύθος, άλλο παράμυθος. Ο μύθος έχει στον πυρήνα του μια πραγματικότητα. Και ξέρετε ποιο ήταν το πλεονέκτημα του μύθου και όλων αυτών των καταπληκτικών ελληνικών μύθων που έχουμε? Είναι ότι ερμήνευαν τον κόσμο κατανοητό για τους πάντες, με έναν τρόπο ψυχαναλυτικό που να διεισδύει στην ψυχή του ανθρώπου. Κάτι που δεν το έχει πετύχει η σημερινή επιστήμη. Αυτοί οι άνθρωποι είχαν αντιλήψεις για τα φυσικά φαινόμενα. Μας μίλησαν για το κατακλυσμό του Δαρδάνου, σήμερα αποδεικνύεται. Ο Ηρόδοτος μας μιλάει για αυτό που είπατε, ότι η Θεσσαλία ήταν λίμνη και έγινε σεισμός, έκοψε τον Όλυμπο στη μέση, έκανε δύο αδέρφια, Όλυμπος και Σαββοσιώσα, και έδωσε διέξοδο στα νερά του ποινιού και εκφορτίστηκε η λίμνη.
This is a place where one can't help but feel insignificant in the face of it all, and to be reminded of one's own mortality. Mount Olympus is the everlasting home, immutable of the immortal gods. Gales cannot shake it, no rainstorms dredge it, and no snow clouds come near, but rather the high air opens out, serene and cloudless, bathed in the purest light. Here, every day for all eternity, the blessed gods lead lives of happiness.
Τα γράφει πολύ ωραία εκείνος ο ζωγράφος του Ολύμπου Ηθακίσεως. Είδα ανατολές πλησίαστες από την τέχνη. έχει μια υπέρβαση ο Όλυμπος που ξεπερνάει ακόμα και τη δημιουργία του τεχνίτη που μπορεί να φανταστεί πολύ ιδανικά τα πράγματα.
Mount Olympus is scientifically known as the Olympus Massif and is located along the coast of the Aegean's Thermikos Gulf. Olympus straddles the ancient border between the lands of Thessaly and those of Macedonia, a border still employed today to separate the Greek regional states of Thessaly and Macedonia. Macedonia is more than a geographical term. The ancient kingdom of Macedonia was the gateway to the Hellenic world, ruled by the Hellene kings. The battles of Philip II expanded it greatly to the north, from modern Bulgaria to Albania. His wars, including the Holy Wars with Athens, ended by gaining the Hellenic states as allies, not enemies or occupied states, but as a fellow Hellenes. That was the Macedonia inherited by Alexander the Great, a Macedonia inhabited by Hellenic population allied with the sister Hellenic states. Archaeological discoveries of the ancient Macedonian centers of Pella, Vergina, Diun, and of the towns and villages throughout this ancient land are host to discoveries of Hellenic artifacts, heritage, names, and language. The same names found on tombs throughout our archaeological sites are still found among the people of today. Cleopatra, for example, was a Hellenic Macedonian name long before the descendant of Ptolemy, general to Alexander the Great, became Queen of Egypt.
Cleopatra descended from the dynasty of the Ptolemies, founded by Ptolemy I Soter, a Macedonian general under Alexander the Great.
Olympus is famous worldwide as the highest mountain in Hellas, Greece, the home of its ancient gods, steeped in legend and mystery for thousands of years. This Olympus, the highest and most spectacular peak in Hellas, is the home of the ancient pantheon of the gods. The mountain is often cloud-covered, hiding the antics of the famous inhabitants from the world of men, as in antiquity, as it is today.
In the mountains, all is pure, all is calm, all complication is cut off. Rare are they who know to listen, happy they who possess wisdom. Here is the realm of harmony and joy, where the past and the present become eternal.
The Mount of Olympus plays another role to the climate, particularly the climate for all Greece, and particularly for Macedonia and Thessaly. An enormous mountain just beside the sea, so has a very strong influence for the climate, for all the area of Greece, particularly for North Greece.
The only difference between the view of Olympus of ancient times and now is that today there is a greater chance to capture the moment during a visit, and sometimes, if the mountain allows you, to experience its spirit.
Mount Olympus to me is half a billion years of history. Mount Olympus to me, as we're seeing here in these lovely rocks, is actually Africa come and invading the middle of Greece. Mount Olympus is a geological miracle. All the story of how Olympus came to be here is just so incredibly difficult for anyone to comprehend. It's even geologically speaking a theory which is newer than the theory of plate tectonics. Without plate tectonics, we would have no comprehension how Olympus is here.
In the spring, snow-water torrents risen and flowing down the mountainsides hurl at a confluence their mighty waters out of gorges, filled by tributaries, and far away upon the hills a shepherd hears the law. As south wind and the southeast wind, contending in mountain groves, make all the forest thrash, swaying their pointed boughs toward one another in roaring wind, and snapping branches crack.
It doesn't matter how tired you are. By the time you will step on the top of Hellas at Pantheon, the feeling, it's extraordinary. You forget everything. Pantheon, or as known today, Mythicus. But Pantheon, it's a Greek word. It means the place where all the gods are living. What was the spirit of the Holy Mountain during the reign of Philip and Alexander? Why were the sites of Thermi, Pella, Vergina and Dion, located at the foot of the massif, such important sites to the Macedonian kings? What was the connection between Olympus and these Hellenic royals? Well, it was a connection of inspiration. We are in Pella, 111 miles away from Mount Olympus, the ancient capital of Macedonia since the end of the 5th century. It is a very important site where we stand right here, and within 200 feet, Alexander III was born, commonly known as Alexander the Great. The name Alexander literally means the one who drives men away, obviously in battles.
His father was the king of Macedonia, Philip II, and his mother was Olympias, a princess of Epirus. The city of Pella was founded in 399 BC by King Archelaus, 413 to 399 BC, as the capital of his kingdom, replacing the older palace city of Aegae. It was the seat of King Philip II and of Alexander, his son. Under Philip and Alexander, Pella became a metropolis with an impressive complex of palaces and luxurious private houses. The city was gradually cut off from the sea due to the silting of the rivers Axios, Haliakmon and Ludias. The city was extended and redeveloped by King Cassander. This early attempt of urban renewal was witnessed by Mount Olympus, the pantheon of the gods shining in the summer sun south of Pellas.
Mountains are much more than just physical entities. The high places of the world have represented an amazing spectrum of ideas and needs for various people at different times in history. We've learned how mountains have been gradually shaped by geological processes and weather. But how has human imagination and perception shaped mountain landscapes? For British historian Simon Schama, landscape is the work of the mind. Its scenery is built up as much from strata of memory as from layers of rock.
Πολλοί ορειβάτες έρχονται μια επίσκεψη στον Όλυμπο, τον πήραμε και τον Όλυμπο μαζί από πρώτα κράτη. Σήμερα έχουμε γύρω στις 70 εθνικότητες και πλέον που ανεβαίνουν πάνω. Είναι άνθρωποι οι οποίοι θα πάρουμε και ένα βουνό ακόμα μαζί. Το βουνό δεν παίρνεται. Παίρνεται η ιστορία του, η πανίδα του, η χλωρίδα του, ό,τι δει κανείς στο δρόμο. Πολλοί ανεβαίνουν με κλειστά μάτια στο βουνό και με κλειστά αυτιά. Δυστυχώς το είδα, αυτό το εξακρίβωσα επανειλημμένος. Κάποιος με ρώτησε μια φορά, μου λέει μόνος σου είσαι? Όχι ρε αδερφέ, λέω, μα δεν βλέπω κανένα. Λέω πρέπει να έχεις μάτια να το δεις και αυτιά να ακούσεις.
People have imagined and reimagined mountains throughout time and try to place those ideas and attitudes in their respective contexts. Appreciating the diversity of views, their reception in oral traditions, in art and literature and other cultural forms gives us some context for the more dominant ways we think about and celebrate mountains today.
Πάνθεον. Με ελληνική σημαία. Εδώ δεν παίρνει να μιλήσουμε αγγλικά. Είμαστε σχεδόν στο Πάνθεον, έτσι δεν είναι?
Τα θεμέλια μας είναι στα βουνά. Εκεί είναι οι ρίζες κάθε λαού. Διαμορφώνεται πολύ από το τοπίο. Και ο Ηλίτης στο καταπληκτικό του ποίημα το Άξιονεστή και ιδιαίτερα στη γέννηση ουσιαστικά μας περιγράφει τη δημιουργία του Αιγαίου και αναφέρεται στην Πίνδο, στον Όλυμπο, στον Άφθο, στον Ταΐγετο, αναφέρεται σε όλα. Και στις πέτρες μέσα τράβηξε κλωστές και από τα σπλάχνα της γης ανέβασε σχιστόλιθο.
Με το Δία είχαμε μια πολύ καλή συνεργασία, είχαμε τις ίδιες αδυναμίες με το γένος τελικού, γι' αυτό απέκτησα και 4 κόρες.
Ήθε ο Ζεύς.
The ancient Greeks or the Celts revered mountains and hills as divine places. For the Greeks, high peaks were the abodes of gods and other deities. The 12 major gods and goddesses of Greek mythology resided in a fortress paradise on Mount Olympus. Zeus was the king of gods. He was born and raised in mountain caves. The muses who inspired music and art and literature, science, they lived in the mountains. Mountains were also the haunts of nymphs and centaurs and other fantastic magical creatures.
The stunning physical nature of Mount Olympus almost outshines its glorious history. The mountain boasts 55 peaks, reaching nearly 3,000 meters. It hosts a fascinating ecosystem that is complex and spectacular.
Olympus is home to more than 1,700 plant species, some of them rare and some endemic only to Olympus. Here, birdwatchers can observe more than 100 bird species. Many of these birds fly from all parts of the Mediterranean and even Africa to rest and nest on Olympus. Climbing from the village of Litochoro, visitors can experience the spectacular view of the thickly forested Olympian slopes and the peaks of the Pantheon above them. That is, if they are lucky, for so often these are shrouded in fog. That rich beauty of the mountain leads us to wonder why the ancient Hellenes thought of Olympus as the residence of the gods. It is here, after all, where the sweet words flowed effortlessly from the muses' lips, singing about the past, present, and future, according to Hesiod. They were always standing on their feet, with strong hands, rejoiced at the banquets away from all the suffering. And they died quietly and peaceful, as if sleeping. Everything was good and fruitful, provided by the livestock land. The Olympian people quietly offering their works and many goods to be shared with others. Protecting them from evil, pure spirits on the earth were called guardians of the mortal men, traveling the whole earth, sharing wealth with common people and royal privileges received.
Macedonia has been the northern getaway of Hellas for more than 4,500 years. Since the time of antiquity, Hellenic-speaking people lived in this northern outlier of Hellenic civilization, and today Hellenic Macedonia comprise the north-central portion of Hellas, Greece. This living remand of Alexander's world today has an area of about 13,200 square miles. It is bounded by Albania to the west, the independent Republic of Skopje, recently renamed Northern Macedonia, and Bulgaria to the north, the Greek region of Thrace to the east, the Aegean Sea to the southeast, and the Greek regional states of Thessaly and Epirus to the south and southwest. The capital city of the Hellenic Macedonian region is Thessaloniki, a city founded in 316 BC by Cassander, king of Macedon. Thessaloniki today is the second largest city of Greece, and as in the time of Cassander, from its busy harbor, Mount Olympus is a strong presence in the view towards the west.
Thessaloniki was once named Thermi, the warm springs, after the hot saltwater springs found along its coast. There were many stories about the origin of its present name, Thessalonica. The most probable one comes from Strabo, who says that the Thermi was built by Cassander and called after his wife Thessalonica, the daughter of Philip. We do not know which of the stories is true, but we do know that under this new name, the city became one of the eminent capitals of Macedonia, and later an apostolic city visited by St. Paul, and later a capital of Byzantium, all under the shining view of Mount Olympus.
We're in Vergina, in Macedonia, 17 miles away from the mountain of Olympus, the Parthenon of the Hellenic nature. Vergina was the first capital of the Macedonian kingdom, which was founded in the 7th century BC. Today, in this incredible site, thousands of years later, we still find pieces from the Macedonian life telling stories in the past. It was in 1977 when Hellene professor Manolis Andronikos made this incredible discovery. Archaeologists all over the world dream about a find like Vergina, a well-preserved discovery, proven association with a famous historical person and real treasures of his kingdom. Despite the glory and power of the Macedonian kings, they never underestimate the divine power of their gods.
Many of the dramatic events in the world of the Olympian gods were recorded in the art of Vergina and Pella. For the Hellenes, Mount Olympus was the ultimate seat of power. The gods whose home it was controlled the earth and skies and all that lived there. Theirs was an extended ruling family, often beset by arguments and egos, sometimes capricious, sometimes fiercely loyal, but always jealous of their own authority and merciless against any who opposed it. The cloud-covered lair of the ancient Hellenic pantheon forms the panorama south of Vergina. The view of Olympus is awe-inspiring. It fires the imaginations of those who visit Vergina today, probably as it did to the ancients who venerated the mountain.
Μακεδονία, η χώρα από Μακεδόνος του Διός και Θείας Πανδώρας Δευκαλίωνος, άλλη από Μακεδόνος του αιώλου, ούτων ή Μακεδόνες.
In less than 25 miles from Vergina is the Macedonian Park, a dedication to the Macedonia era, Alexander the Great, and the history he left behind. Sadly, it's the only place outside the museums someone can see so many Hellenic ancient symbols.
At this park, visitors can leave the modern world off the highway and go back in time to ancient Hellas, to the time of Alexander the Great. It is a small theme park, but rich in symbols that transports you to another world, the world of the Macedonian kingdom. For the time you are there, you also feel like a proud Hellene from the past.
Facing Mount Olympus from the ancient Dion, right next to Litochoro city, it can only be described as a soul capture. You can stay still and stare, realizing surprisingly that the mount is still alive, powerful and majestic, right here at the sacred place of Alexander the Great, the greatest conqueror of all times.
Dion was dedicated to Zeus and is named for the Hellenic version of his name. Dion, the king of the gods of Olympus, the absolute ruler of the universe. So goes the myth. But what was the link to reality? In 2003, at the base of Olympus, near the Aegean shores, a lost temple was discovered. The temple was the centerpiece of an ancient city, the city of Dion. It was an important religious center for worshipping the gods of Mount Olympus. It was here that Philip II came to celebrate his victories. Here, it is said, is the place where young Alexander tamed his famous warhorse, Bucephalus. It was here that Alexander made sacrifices to Zeus before leaving to conquer the known world.
Dione was a city that was built at the base of Mount Olympus, and so it's very close to the home of the Olympian gods and goddesses, and where Zeus lived, in Hellenic Greek mythology. In fact, the name of the town Dione means Zeus. The Dione temple dates back to the 5th century BC, the golden age of Greek mythology. Scattered around the site of marble blocks with unmistakable engraving. Eagles, the divine symbol of Zeus. The ancient city of Dione lived 1,000 years, only to be destroyed in an earthquake in an early Christian era.
Because we're in an active tectonic zone in Greece, there's a fault between Mount Olympus and the Aegean, which is active today. It is the same fault which is responsible for the earthquake which destroyed Dione, 2,000 years ago or so.
The site was overgrown by thick vegetation and buried in mud and soils eroding from Olympus.
What I'm wearing is an authentic traditional Macedonian dress. In modern times, women in Greece are wearing this dress only when they're dancing traditional dances. But there is a lot of history behind it. As you can see, I'm wearing a helmet instead of a hat. There is a story on that goes back to the era of Alexander the Great.
It's called katsouli. It's a woman's headpiece, a hat that adds great pomp to a traditional custom, recognizable throughout Hellas. It is meant to resemble the ancient Homeric and Macedonian helmets. Our traditions connect this woman's hat with Alexander the Great himself. Women from that area were given the right to wear such a hat, the katsouli, as a gift from Alexander, a reward to the woman for their bravely fighting alongside male warriors against barbarian tribes. Today, more than 50 villages in the Macedonian area, once known as Rumluki, preserve this tradition. The reward of Alexander is worn today, and their pride has not diminished from the days of those historic battles.
In the tradition of the katsouli is a legend that Alexander had left only a small god to protect Rumluki, and this god could not face the onslaught of an invading hostile army. When the men began to retreat from battle, women took up arms and boldly threw themselves against the invaders, forcing a stampede and their defeat. Alexander returned with all his army, learned about the actions of these fighting women, and honored them for their bravery, giving each a helmet, the badge of a true warrior.
Olympus spreads between two geographical regions of Greece, Thessaly and Macedonia. Each region is both a traditional state within Greece, Hellas, dating from antiquity and a modern administrative region. The same Thessaly we read of in Homer, sometimes called by its more ancient name of Aeolia, the land of winds, is the Thessaly of today.
Macedonia has its own tale within Hellenic mythology. It seems that Macedon, son of Zeus and Thea, conquered the land then belonging to Thrace and named it after himself, that is, Macedonia. He then married a local woman and had two sons, Pyrrhus and Amathus. Two cities, Pieria and Amathea, in Macedonia were founded by them or named after them. This is the bloodline from which the kings of Macedonia, including Philip and Alexander, traced their ancestry back to immortal Zeus. How highly should we honor the Macedonians, for the greater part of their lives never cease from fighting with the barbarians for the sake of the security of Hellas.
Άνδρες Αθηναίοι, ούγαρ ανέλεγον ημι μεγάλος εκειδόμην συναπάσεις της Ελλάδος. Αυτότε γάρ Έλλην το γένος ημί, ο αρχαίο και αντελεύθερης δε δουλωμένην ουκ ανεθέλημη οράν την Ελλάδα. Ημί δε Αλέξανδρος ο Μακεδόν.
We're at the holy site of ancient Olympia. Olympia took its name from Mount Olympus, the abode of Zeus. It was right here at this stadium where the ancient Olympic Games were born.
Σε αυτό εδώ το στάδιο έγινε το εξής. Μέχρι την εποχή που ιδρύθηκαν οι Ολυμπιακοί Αγώνες, ο πόλεμος ήταν το κυρίαρχο γεγονός μεταξύ των ανθρώπων. Για πρώτη φορά σκέφτηκαν το εξής. Αντί να είναι οι άνθρωποι απέναντι ο ένας στον άλλον, οι δύο αντίπαλες ομάδες, και να συγκρούονται μεταξύ τους, να πετάνε βέλη ο ένας στον άλλον, σκέφτηκαν να αλλάξουν τη φορά. Δηλαδή πετούσαν πάλι βέλη, αλλά όχι ο ένας στον άλλον, ο ένας παράλληλα με τον άλλον. Και νικούσε, αντί να σκοτώνονται μεταξύ τους, νικούσε αυτός που πετούσε το βέλος πιο μακριά, το ακόντιο, τη σφαίρα. Αυτό το πράγμα έγινε την εποχή των πρώτων Ολυμπιακών Αγώνων σε αυτό εδώ το στάδιο.
The Olympic Games were the greatest sporting event of all Hellenic people. A pan-Hellenic contest. These athletic events embraced the Greek ideal of fair competition among the Hellenes, free and equal men, as conveyed in the words that preceded each event. Let the best win. Let the best win. We still say this before our modern Olympic Games, the heritage of ancient Hellas.
Alexander the Macedonian, commonly known as Alexander the Philhellene, was a ruler of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He participated at the Olympic Games right here, possibly in 504 BC. Participation to the Olympic Games was a reserved honor only for the Hellenes.
Taking part in these holy games was a right reserved only for Hellenes. It is believed that Alexander won the chariot race.
τον Ολυμπικό αγώνα
Macedonia, our shining gate to Mount Olympus, is a natural, historical, and archaeological symbol. Its complex ecology and extreme geographic setting, its very nature under the heavens of Hellas, Greece, has remained as it was in antiquity. There are only few roads, few anthropogenic interventions. It is indeed a living fossil of the geology, geography, and mythology of the ancient world.
Mount Olympus to me is one of the most spectacular geological phenomena in the world. Is not merely the absolutely beautiful glacier morphology on top of it, which is a rather young phenomena. Mount Olympus to me is 500 million years of history.
It remains our mountain of the gods. With divine indifference to human affairs, Mount Olympus stands as a giant monarch of the Hellenes, as a geographic and spiritual monument. It has the power to elevate the mind, free the soul, and allow the spirit to bloom. Marianne Williamson has said that the top of one mountain is always the bottom of another. In the case of Olympus, this does not apply.
Here, the past and the present become eternal. Throughout history, geology, mythology, and the living people who carry the memories, Olympus, it's not a destination with a beginning and an ending, with a top and a bottom. It's an eternal destination for our hearts. After all, Mount Olympus, it's not a destination where to go, but rather a destination where to be.